So before we start talking about the new topic for today, are there any questions around anything going on with your mediumship or anything from last week that you want to ask about or go over to do? I know last week we did home circle. So are there any questions around that experience or how you want to start a home circle or anything like that? Because I'd be happy to answer those. Just waiting.
David has a question.
Okay, I didn't see it. Hey, David.
Hey, sorry. I was just wondering, so I know like the process of how to go into it and like how to do it and everything, but I was just wondering in more detail kind of what's going on like energetically, like what systematically is happening and who is like benefiting from the development and like sitting in circle and stuff from like the different roles and things like that.
Okay, so you're talking about particularly with home circle. Okay, great. So when it comes to the power and what we're doing basically with this whole 7 weeks is learning that exactly, what that is exactly, how the power affects us, how it works with us, how we can have an awareness of each kind of power and the difference between them and what information within that power, what it's telling us, right? So home circle in particular is really good for you to start to get that awareness, to start to really feel in the power, how it's affecting you, how it's not needed for you to do anything besides come, be sensitive and notice. How does that power impact you, right? That's the training. That's mediumship in general. People that are going out there trying to make it happen, do it, they're doing the opposite of what's going to actually benefit them for their mediumship. So when it comes to home circle in particular, though, everyone benefits. So not just the medium that is sitting, but everyone in the group benefits from that energy, from that power. So everyone is developing, even if you're not the one that is the medium at the time. The power hits everyone. The power, you're in that power together. We're in a group soup, essentially, of energy. So we also take turns as well, as far as who is the medium, right? In traditional circles, once they found out a medium was, moving into trance states and spirit could speak through that person or moving toward physical mediumship, then a lot of times the circle would switch to be about sitting for that person, right? And all the people that were there witnessing it were the ones really benefiting because the medium was the one in the trance, or, both kinds of mediumship would involve them being in a trance and them being not really aware of what's happening so much. So everyone in the circle, they're the ones that were benefiting from all of that. But in what we're doing, as we're switching, taking turns, everyone gets the opportunity to have both kinds of benefit. But yeah, everyone benefits. Does that thoroughly answer your question, or was there more to it? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that answers like everything.
Okay, great. Yeah, because today, especially, we're going to be seeing, now we had that awareness of sitting in the power in that way, right? Of sitting in circle together for home circle. Now today, in particular, we're going to see how does it feel different from that day to feeling healing, and how that changes, how the power changes for each thing that we're doing each week. Deb?
Yeah, I loved last week's, and it was just a great demonstration. So this is unrelated to that. I did a practice circle on whatever it was, Thursday night, and just I see stuff, like I get little flashes of things, and but I feel kind of a little bit stuck, and I have a really hard time like feeling. I can feel the pressure, I can feel the tingling, and I kind of know if the person's like grumpy or whatever, but I don't get like feeling. What am I missing? Because it's that was the thing, is like to go that next step of actually feeling. How? Any tips?
Yeah.
On the feeling.
Right. So are you sitting in the power regularly also?
Yeah, I sit in the power every night.
Okay. So when you're sitting, are you aware of energetic sensations? Are you aware
Yes.
of feeling buzzing? Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about feeling, are you talking about emotion? Is that what you mean more? Or do you mean actual feeling?
Yeah, it's just when if it's my turn to be the medium, the way that I get a sense of a person is I can kind of see how big they are, how tall they are. I get a sense of their being male or female, older, but I don't, I guess I don't know what I need to be looking for feeling, because that seems like I'm seeing things. I also see like flashes of things. So that's what
Okay.
I'm missing, I think, what the feeling part is.
Okay. So when we were back in, I think, level 1, do you remember when we were doing the exercises of when, like the essence exercise,
Yeah,
where
right.
we were paying attention to where does this feeling start to come up within me, right? Where does having this person with me start to make me feel different, right? What's starting to come? So it's usually between, our heart and our solar plexus area, right? So there may be some sort of disconnect. There may be some sort of like not paying attention here. You know what I mean? For how the power or spirit is impacting you in that space. So when you're working, where is your attention usually?
Yeah, I've got my eyes closed. And
Okay, so
I think yeah, again, I think I'm trying to like sense their essence, but it usually comes in like flashes of things like clairvoyance instead of sentience. So I
yeah.
don't, yeah.
And so there's a benefit in the beginning of closing the eyes, right? There's a benefit of not having distraction. But as
Right.
we move forward, what can happen is it keeps us here instead
Okay.
of here, right?
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if we can open our eyes and have a more of a diffused awareness, it helps us to be more aware of the space around us, our own feeling, and the images all together, right?
Okay.
Because it's easy to see those images when our eyes are closed. It's a little bit stronger, but it can get that strong with your eyes open too. It's just a practice of getting there. So what I want you to do when you are working is try to have more of that open awareness, right? What's happening within me? What's changing? What am I noticing? And it can be so subtle. And those things get stronger as you start to notice them. Okay. So I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything wrong with you. I just think
Yeah.
it's maybe where your attention is.
Right. Okay. All
That
right.
makes
Great.
sense.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try that. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any more questions before we jump in? Oh yeah, Cindy.
Deb could have been speaking for me. Thank you. So is it important to keep eyes closed during sitting in the power? Or is that something also that could practice?
So you can have your eyes open, but you're not going to get to those deeper levels if you have your eyes open. So it's like you can feel, it's just like when you're sitting like for home circle, right? You can have your eyes open and have that awareness, right? You're still moving into this sort of subdued, heavy awareness feeling, but you're not necessarily going to get to the layers past that if you have your eyes open. Does that make sense? So when it comes to like blending and trance and sitting in the power and really being passive, right? We're really being passive. That's when we want to have more of our eyes closed versus if we're doing mental mediumship or just becoming aware of energy, then we can have our eyes open and it's not going to affect it as much. Does that make sense?
It does. So when I'm sitting in the power,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was just trying to surrender and let go and do less. And then after we did the home circle, I thought, oh, I wonder if I'm supposed to be paying attention to the movement or the change of energy while I'm sitting.
Okay, gotcha. So not exactly in this, it's similar, but not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same because you're the one that's really being that passive, right? Letting go. So you're noticing what's happening, right? Because your energy is open, you're noticing the changes, but it's more of like a passive in the background awareness. It's not the same as like, oh, okay, that just happened, right? I'm going to write that down. I noticed that. It's more like, okay, Yep, I noticed that. And now I'm relaxing more, right? I noticed that change. I'm just going to relax more. So what happens in the beginning is people have a tendency to notice and grab, right? So we're training how to notice and let go. That's part of what we do in mediumship as well, except we add in the speaking a lot of times. But when it comes to sitting in the power, we're really learning how to just follow whatever's happening in the power and allowing us to just keep moving deeper and deeper into whatever that may be. And every time you sit, it's going to feel different and maybe slightly different. But when you're feeling those energetic shifts and changes, you're really going through the different levels of awareness. So you're expanding out further and further, becoming more and more of everything as you're kind of moving into these different levels. So sometimes we may get to like the first level where we're just feeling tingling, right? We may just feel tingle. It's like a expansion. We may get to the next level and we're starting to feel heavy. We're starting to feel our bodies becoming heavy because we're actually getting lighter, because that's our energy. We're lighter. Then we may get to the next level and we're now feeling still. We're just feeling the stillness, nothing. We're feeling a part of everything, right? So there's all these different levels. And if we are paying attention too much to those changes, we're not going to necessarily allow ourselves to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. It was better when I was just allowing and
Mm-hmm.
relaxing and stuff. And then back to the very beginning when you say, wait for the stirring in your spark, your
Mhm.
light. I wasn't feeling much of anything. And then I was noticing, well, it feels like, oh, I'm aware of my heartbeat. And it felt like it was beating harder. But I thought, oh, that's going to happen all the time. Am I just more aware of it? And then today I thought, well, maybe it's not supposed to be my heart. Maybe I'm getting it from my solar plexus. So I just sort of
Yeah.
was
So
more
what
aware
that,
of that. And it felt like there was a little bit of a flutter.
uh-huh.
But I just don't know what this stirring thing is.
Sure. So it's sort of like an opening feeling. It's sort of like this feeling that starts to open. That feeling that you're feeling though is a quickening. It's called a quickening. It's when our energy starts to go faster and starts to move quicker. So you'll get that heartbeat feeling or that flutter feeling, but it's your energy starting to vibrate at a faster rate is what's happening. So that's why it feels like that. It's all normal. But what I want to highlight is the difference between what we're doing in home circle is when we're sitting for the medium is we're training our awareness to pay attention to the shifts and changes, right? That's a part of what we're trying to learn how to do. When we're sitting in the power, we're just being passive. We're just being still. And if we notice in the background, that's cool. You know what I mean? But we don't have to. Does that make sense? So I want to highlight the difference for you and for anyone else in case I didn't quite get there. But does that all make sense, Cindy?
Yeah, I just thought that again that there was something wrong with me because I wasn't feeling something
No.
stirring.
Yeah, no. It's just a very it's a subtle shift that takes place as you're starting to go from normal awareness into a sensitive, receptive, and passive openness, right? It's a different, it will feel different slightly for everybody, but it's just it's like just a slight change from, okay, I'm just feeling normal to like, oh, I'm starting to open. I'm starting to just sort of expand and open my energy and become sensitive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel that all the time, but I just
Yeah.
I was waiting for something else. I want
Sure.
like something to hit me over the head and say, hey.
Yeah. No, it's, and it comes to energy, it's always pretty subtle, right? Until it's not, but for the most part, it's pretty subtle. So yeah, nothing's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. It's just a description, the stirring or the opening, or it's just different ways to describe it is all. So, yeah. You're welcome. Amy.
Is there a home circle available to us that we can take advantage of?
Right now, I believe that the 8 weeks that had been happening is done. I know that Michael and I will be making more home circles. So we just have to sit down and figure out when that will be. And then once that is established, there'll be a newsletter that will go out.
Okay. And
For
so
people.
should we start our own home circles in the meantime?
Totally, you can. Then it is good to have somebody that's a leader that understands what to do, though, and that can help you through that, but you absolutely can start your own home circle. I mean, I encourage it honestly, but if you can have a medium in there that can feel the changes in the power, that will direct you in a way that will help you, that would be beneficial. So, but a group of like around 8 people is usually good, or up to 8 people. And then having 2 people sit for the time and switching. So you can feel the difference in the power, and then you switch every week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, for how long?
So usually it's good to do. So some people will say, okay, we're going to sit for months or whatever, but not everyone can commit to that. So typically starting with 8-week segments. And then if people can't commit, they can, not be a part of it. Or maybe if the people aren't meshing well together, that's another opportunity to sort of switch those things out, because it is really important that there is good harmony within the group.
Actually meant how long should the
Oh,
meeting
for the
be?
sitting. Okay, got it. So usually each person will sit for a half an hour. And then you need time in between for discussing it. So, and we usually sit in the power together first. So it's a 2-hour span typically. Yeah, so you sit together as a group in the power and you
Yep.
build the power. And then a medium sits, talk about it. Another medium sits, talk about it.
Yep.
And that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
And
Cool.
then do we have practice circle? Like, is there like a code that we can use to join the practice circles and the sitting in the power hour with?
Yes. If can you please email either Michael or support,
Yes.
and they should send that out. Have you already sent an email?
I
Or-
posted something in the forum.
Okay, yeah, send an email. That would be better to get a faster response.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll make sure that gets taken care of. Thank you so much, Amy. Okay, let's dive into healing. Yay. So as I've said earlier and what we said last week, this is really about learning how to understand the difference in the power each week. So how the power works with us through mental mediumship versus healing, or versus trance, as we're moving into the trance states. It's all going to feel different each time. The really nice thing about healing is not only are we providing healing in whatever means that may be for another person, that can be emotional, physical, or some sort of spiritual healing. It's also, because it's coming through us, it helps heal us at the same time. So this is a simple exercise, but it's really about learning how to become passive and still and allow the healing to come through us. It's not something that we're trying to force from us or to will from us. We are asking our guides that may work with us through healing to come and assist us, to either work through us by blending, or through just supporting us through that healing process for our partner. When it comes to any form of working like this, you come in the same way. You come with being still, you want to attune, you want to set an intention. So whether your intention is going to be to connect mediumistically and bring through people versus healing, it's all about the intention and where it's being directed, and to trust that that will happen because we've set that intention. But we always start with the first part of attunement. That will always be the beginning of any mediumistic practice. Okay. Before I move on, has anyone done healing before? Okay, great. So this form of healing of what we're doing is going to be different than something like Reiki. This is going to be not us directing it. So like with forms of Reiki, there's a lot of like assessing and, deciding what symbols and that kind of thing. We're not doing any of that. This is really about knowing and trusting in the intelligence of the spirit world, and that the energy will go exactly where it's needed for exactly the right things, right? So we don't have to even move our hands. We don't have to do any of that. If your hands move on their own, let's say a blending takes place with a guide and your hands start to move, just allow it. If your head starts to move, just allow it. Whatever's happening, just allow it. But the hands don't need to move for the energy to flow through you and to go where it's needed. And I can already feel the like, but do we have to be in person feeling questions? But we don't. It's just like any other form of mediumship. Energy goes where it's needed. It's not confined by any time, space, or place. And we're all energetically connected because really we're one consciousness, all living separate individual lives and getting to play and suffer sometimes, but also play. It's part of being here on earth. Any questions at all before I go on? Cindy, and then Jordan.
Now, you may answer this later, but do you need people's permission or to send them healing energy?
Yes, I do think that you should have their permission. I do think that when we're working energetically, we should have consent. And so I do think that that is, you know, and if it's asked for, you know, in just a general way, or let's say if someone's really sick and they're out of capacity to ask for it, but there's their loved ones around them asking for healing, I think that's still okay. I think that that's still okay. I think that when we trust in the intelligence of spirit, the energy will either be accepted or it won't be. Does that make sense? So I do think we should obviously get consent for people that are, you know, able to give that consent. But I think that when that consent gets handed off to family, just like it would be in any other medical, you know, signings of things going on with that person, I think that that still is okay. Does that make sense?
It does. I wonder if sometimes when people present their problems to you, if subliminally they're saying, if you can help, you know, sometimes people just say, send your thoughts and prayers. I mean, that's just a general
Right.
thing. So I don't know if that fits as.
Well, I think it's always okay to just ask them, would you mind if I sent you some healing? You know, I mean, I think that's okay to ask, and they may say no, and they may say yes. And I think that we should just respect whatever that answer should be.
Probably help their expectation.
Right. Well, that's true. Thank you, Cindy. I know Jordan's hand was up, and then I'll go to Jackie.
I was curious because I read Gordon Smith's book recently, and he was talking about connecting specifically with a healing guide. And I was curious if that had been part of your experience, if that was something that you could speak to at all.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually do trance healing as what I do, and I developed particularly with trance healing also. So yes, I do work with a healing guide. Today, we are essentially establishing that connection with our healing guide. If you are able to let go enough, if you're able to surrender enough, there may be a blending that takes place with that healing guide for that power to come through you in that way. So when I work, that's essentially what I do. I come with the intention of coming to heal, to blend with my healing guide, and to allow them to blend and bring through that power. And I just become very passive and still, and they're able to do that. I'm actually going to be doing a demonstration today for you all so that you can feel that. And we'll go over that as well. But before we move into you guys working in the second part, Jackie?
Yeah, my question is very similar. When I've been like, I know somebody is very, very ill, but I'm not close enough. I feel like I am asking my guide to connect to their guide and offer healing if it's usable, you know, if they are open to it and if it would be helpful. I mean,
Yeah.
is that?
I think it's, so what you're talking about is you're asking your guide to ask their guide to do that work. I think that's okay. I think that's different from us trying to, you know, give it to them. I think that their guide knows what's needed already. And I think that they probably will be taking care of that on their side, even without our request. But I do think that, you know, our loving intention, our prayers for people do have an effect on them. I do think, and I know the spirit world has talked about that what we think and how we, hold someone in our energy with our intentions can have an effect, a positive effect. So I think that that's okay. Yeah, I do. That's okay. Thank you, Jackie. Amy?
When you say set your intentions, are you setting those before you meet with somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you setting them as you're meeting with them and they're like, actually, today I want healing, or today I want to connect with, my loved ones, or when
Yeah.
are you setting those intentions?
So it's going to depend. So if someone makes I'm just going to say from my own perspective because of what I do. If someone makes a session with me that is, psychic or mediumship, then that's usually my thought of what will happen. But there has been times where I become aware of my healing guide, and I honestly, it's only happened maybe once or twice during a session. I become aware of them. And I offer to that person, I'm becoming aware of my healing guide. And I do feel that they're saying healing would be beneficial for you. Are you open to that as like another end of the session kind of thing? And most of the time they are, and they are understanding of like why that would be happening. So I try to just follow the power. That's what we're trying to teach you all to do, is to follow the power, trust what is coming forward. If they have if they obviously just plan for a trance healing session, then I come in with that intention, and that's what I do. There is even been a time where during that time, my guide wanted to speak through me for this person because they needed to hear a certain message. And I allowed that to happen. So, it's just about following what you're aware of, right? So if your guide comes in and what they feel like, you can do that. If you're aware of the power and how the power is working with you, you can just surrender to it and follow it. And I think that is, has always been most beneficial for me and those I work with to do. Yeah.
Okay, but you set intentions before you work with somebody, and then things may shift.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So like for today, for example, when you're working, you're coming with, okay, so I'm becoming still, I'm becoming attuned, I'm aware. And my intention now is to allow healing, for my healing guide to come and just join me to support this or blend with me, right? Whatever they're going to do. And to just be passive, to just allow the healing to come through. And that's the only intention you really need to have,
Okay,
right?
cool.
It's not like this, okay, healing come through me right now. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to go there. We just want to go like, okay, here's the intention. Great. Now I'm just going to allow it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Cool. Augie?
Say if somebody has some pain or difficulty in their life, and it's due to like a karmic purpose that they have to go through as a healer, can you change that, or are you doing the wrong thing, or how does that play?
Right. So, there's going to be things that are going to be able to be helped, and there's things that may not be able to be helped. And it's not really us to determine that. We have to just know that it's going to go where it's needed, and it may be helpful just to help bring a little bit of healing, a little bit of peace, a little bit of something. Sometimes there are healers that can bring through real significant physical changes in people. If there's some sort of reason they have whatever they do, and I don't even know, as far as my belief as with contracts and that kind of thing, I do believe in something like that, but I don't know if it's exactly what we deem it as in human terms, and this the way that we think of it. So I do think there will be things that can be helped and things that can't be helped, and I don't think we have to be the ones that necessarily worry about it. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think if we just kind of let it go and trust, I think that things will be done as needed. But there are people like Harry Edwards, I don't know if you've ever heard of Harry Edwards, who did healing, not trance healing, but just normal spiritual healing, who would heal goiters and heal physical ailments that you could physically see. He would have healing sessions, and people would come, and he would pick some from the audience, and he would have them come up. Everyone could see the big goiter, which is a big thing that comes out of your neck, for anyone that doesn't know what a goiter is. And he would do his healing, and you would actually see it shrink or disappear. And so that's a possibility. And everyone's potential for healing is there. It's just like with any other form of mediumship, you can develop it further, right? I do think that maybe some people have more of a particular kind of energy for particular kinds of mediumship. And I think the spirit world, again, going back to like, we're just surrendering, we're allowing Swirl to lead us, to trust that we trust them, we trust ourselves, to like let them follow and we follow them. Does that make sense? Where we're if we're going to work with healing, or we're going to work with trance, or we're going to work with whatever, we have to just follow that path and keep moving with it. But I really think that when it comes to like the physical ailments, I think it helps, even if it's like things we can't fully change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
if, like, say somebody comes to you with really bad lower back pain.
Mhm.
So for healing, you are you not supposed to say, my intention is to push to that back? You just let
No,
it.
you don't need to do any of it. It will go where it's needed. Just always remember the spirit world is intelligent, more so than us. They have more awareness than we do.
Okay.
So they know. And I will, when I'm going to move into that in just a couple minutes here, but like, I don't do any of the scanning of the people. I don't ask them, what are your problems? I don't do any of that. I become aware of those things sometimes when I'm in that state. So when I'm sensitive and I'm still and I'm passive, I a lot of times am becoming aware of what's going on with the person I'm working with. So I can tell a lot of times where they're doing the energy, right? It would move from different points of the body. And we'll be going over that exactly once we're done with it. So what I'll be doing is picking a person to do the healing for, but I want everybody to pay attention and be like we did with the home circle, to be passive, still pay attention to the energy. How is it impacting you? What's changing? What are you noticing? And then I'll have you guys talk about that. And then we'll be having the person that got the healing talk about it. So you can see the difference, if there is a difference in the experience or not, or if it's the same, right? And then I talk about it. So, and that's essentially what we're going to be doing when we're working today as well. We're going to be having the opportunity for doing the healing, receiving the healing, and supporting the healing as a battery as well. So we'll be working in groups in that way. Carly? Hey, Carly.
Hi, I have COVID right now,
No.
and I was wondering if, like, when we're doing the healing, if this is something that will be like talking intensive, or will
No.
be like, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
I'm
no,
so
no.
happy.
So don't
Okay.
worry about that. You just do whatever you need today, okay?
Okay.
So don't worry about that. The only talking part we're doing is just talking about our experience of it. So you can just keep that very, very brief. Okay. Otherwise,
Okay.
you're talking.
Great. Thank
Very
you.
passive. Yeah. So I hope it helps you. Actually, I think it's, if you're going to have COVID on a day, it's, healing day.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Poor Carly. My goodness. Okay. So do I have any, well, first, before I move into, are there any questions? Any more questions? Cool. Okay. So I want to see, is there a volunteer that would like to have healing? Okay. I just saw Hallie first. I saw Hallie first. Saw the little cute hand. But also know, you may also experience that, whatever that energy is, you may also experience it. So I'm going to see, I can't highlight. Can I highlight me and Hallie? Can you do that? And I am trying to see if I can do more than one person. I cannot. So I'm going to do this because I'm going to do the healing. So the other thing I'd like to do is, Jordan, I'm going to have you practicing the calling the medium out, because in our circles today, everyone will have to, that is going to be the battery at a time, will be calling the medium out. And so this is a good practice. So Jordan, what I'm going to have you do is time for 8 minutes.
Okay.
With your, I'll have you muted until it's time. But when it's time to call me out, what I want you to do is very, very gently, very quietly call the medium out. So you would say, taking deeper breaths, allowing yourself to come back. Okay, so something along those lines. We want to be very gentle with our mediums when we are taking them back out. So I'm just gonna,
Sounds good.
and then the healing is going for Hallie and whoever else is experiencing it. So for everyone else, what I want you to do is put out the intention to support the medium. So with your energy to support what's happening in the healing. And just become still and passive. So I just want you to start paying attention to what you're noticing. Write down any changes that you're noticing, just like we did with Home Circle. You don't have to keep time unless you want to, but just I want you to pay attention. What's changing in the energy? How am I feeling? What's happening? Okay. Okay. So Jordan, you can go ahead and just go ahead and start timing.
Okay, I'll start now.
Hold on, I'm gonna actually mute myself.
Okay, so Megan, very slowly, just deepening the breath. Just gently starting to come back to normal awareness. Okay. I'm going to spotlight. Okay. Oh, there's Hallie. Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Just for everyone to note when we're going to bring people back, be even more quiet than that. Just very gentle. You did great, but just for everyone to know, so that's why I wanted to have someone do it so that we can, so even like a whisper, very whisper. Yeah, just so everyone knows. Okay, cool. So what I'd like to do is have a couple people talk about the experience that you had with what you noticed changing. David?
So at first, whenever you were first going into it, I feel like there may have like instantly been a energy that moved to your left side, or I felt like a intensing of energy on your left side. And it felt like after that was there, you really started going into it. The energies for me, it felt very soothing, but there was this um, heat to it, or like this purifying aspect to it. Kind of like you were icy hot, like you were spiritual icy hot. I don't know. But yeah, it felt like that, and it was kind of moving back between like periods of it felt very nourishing and healing, and then the energy would increase, and it felt very like potent and intense and like very vibrating. I don't know, like the right vocabulary.
Good. No, it's great. Yeah, like energy pulsing maybe, or something like that. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, David, for sharing. I'm gonna call in some people that don't share a lot. Also, I'm going to, so don't be scared. Lori.
I knew you were going to call on me. I was like reaching for my mute
It's
button.
like you're psychic or
So,
something.
I don't know. I don't know, or guilty, one of the two, right? So, yeah, I noticed immediately last time too, when I tapped into you, I just feel the energy right away, ringing in my ears, tingling, just a complete heaviness. And then I had it was a stillness. It was really beautiful. And so I felt that right away. And then as you were working, I would feel really big waves of energy, like just where my body almost moves. So that was really fun. I really enjoy actually tapping into you because you have such a powerful energy. I just love it. Last exercise when we were doing last week, I was like, I just wanted to stay there with you. I was like, oh no, I want to sit in the power with her. I don't want to go anywhere. It was great. So that's what I noticed.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see how we're already kind of like both experiences are sounding sort of similar, Monet?
Okay, I have a little list here. So mostly a lot of warmth in my solar plexus and just heat, some tingling in the arms, my left side, feeling it in my legs as well. And I would also get some random like impressions of shapes in my mind's eye randomly, but and then just gone. And that was pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Renee. Megan Cochran, I'm going to call on you because you wrote in the chat box and I wanted you to talk about your experience.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely felt like fluctuations of moments where I would really feel like lifted by the energy, and then it felt like it got like more intense. Like it was like I couldn't think of any other word to explain what it felt like other than like working. Like it just felt like something was like happening, things were moving around. And I've just randomly got like overtaken by like sudden really bad back pain, which is gone now. So that was weird, but yeah.
Interesting. So were you experiencing any kind of back pain before that previously?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if what Hallie was experiencing, but Bella?
So, like right away when you started, I wasn't expecting it, but I just randomly felt like there was a guide there with me the entire time. And it felt like I kind of know the energy of my guides, and this one felt different. So I was wondering if that's like a normal experience.
So it's possible that it was your healing guide starting to show up, but we'll find out when you're actually working. You'll when we're working, just like we're working with spirit in any other capacity, we're paying attention to what's happening around me, right? So if a guide starts to show up on one side, we'll know, okay, that's our healing guide. That's going to be working with us. So you'll start to identify the essence of them. If it's the same, cool. If it's not, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Bella. David.
I wanted to ask about a like sensation that I became aware of, like in your energy towards the kind of middle of the practice. I could just be making things up. I don't know if I was actually feeling something that was like happening, but there was a point where it was kind of like the energy went to the throat and it was like a numbingness or like a numb feeling or energy went there. And once that settled in, the energy went, it like spread it across your shoulders and it felt more full. So I don't know if you experienced that yourself, but I've never felt that. So I was just curious, like what that is. Am I feeling something? I don't know, but it just felt really interesting to me. Like,
Yeah. So why don't we see what Hallie's experience was to see if you may have been experiencing what she was experiencing, and then I'll also share my experience with it. Okay. So Hallie, can you unmute and go ahead and share your experience?
Yeah, so I wasn't watching you at all, Megan. I had my eyes closed as
Totally
well.
good. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what was happening for you. I wasn't like tuning into that, but so for me, like pretty much almost immediately, I felt a female presence behind me, and I mean, I don't have any room behind me, so that was kind of cool to experience, and it felt like love, and it felt like it was like wrapping all around my body, and then I started feeling like tingles on the top of my head and just like a deep relaxation in my eyes. And before this, I was feeling like I get overstimulated and I was feeling like overstimulated and I don't feel like that anymore. So that is like a difference that happened. And I started feeling like energy like moving throughout my body. And I did feel it like throughout my legs, which I usually don't either. But it felt like it was going all over. And then I did feel a touch sensation on my back, like middle lower back. And I just felt relaxed. And I think that is about it. I might be forgetting something, but yeah.
And were you aware of any changes like energetically as far as like did it feel cold, hot? Were you aware of anything like that?
Yeah, it felt kind of hot at first, and then it was kind of like the icy hot feeling that David was talking about. It felt hot and cold at the same time, and so it was like balancing out each other. And yeah.
And did you have any like emotions or anything rise to the surface or feel sort of overwhelmed emotionally or anything like that?
I felt loved, and that felt good. Yeah, I would say that that's probably the main feeling.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. So it's interesting because, you know, obviously the experiences that you guys are experiencing was a lot of things that Hallie was experiencing. So that shows you right there, the objectivity of the energy and how you just tuning in and becoming still and sensitive, you become aware of that happening. The power happens to you, right? You don't have to search for it. You're just allowing it to be a part of your awareness. And so it's interesting because all of your experiences as well, and Hallie, what you experienced was what I was experiencing. So I could feel my guide working with me to my side. And I do get very hot right away. I do get this very very hot feeling, and then it does sort of like tune up like into like a sort of icy hot feeling. Feels like the energy becomes stronger. I definitely was aware of the energy going here at first. That's where I felt it, was around here and starting to move down through the body. So I did feel at a time this sort of opening in the chest feeling that you're talking about, David. There was this sort of like feeling, and I do think that was probably like the love, you know, the love element and that holding feeling. And that's what's so beautiful about healing, is it's so loving, it's so comforting, and you know, they're going to the different parts of the body that are needed, whether that is on like the physical level or the energetic level, the emotional. You know, they know what's needed. So, and I thought that's interesting too, that you felt that lower back part. And then Megan said for her, she also felt, you know, for her, it felt a little bit painful, I guess. And it can feel different for everybody, but it's really interesting how, you know, we're all energetically connected, and it shows you that, like, this is an objective way for you to see that. And it's unfortunate that not everyone in the world gets to experience it, to realize like how energetically connected we are, and that, you know, all of this is real. This is all real. And yeah, but we are going to actually, let me, before we kind of move to the break, I saw that there's a couple questions here. Is it normal to also hear someone giving you advice? It's possible. Whenever you're in that kind of passive awareness state, you may hear something like that. You know, it's going to depend on how removed out of your thinking mind you are to know if that was you versus spirit, you know. And that's always the tricky part when it comes to this sort of thing. But if it just came out of nowhere, you weren't looking for it, you weren't thinking, that's usually when I would go, okay, I'll take note of this. You know, I always think it's good not to take any experience that happens and make a big deal about it, right? When we do that, we're kind of going into our ego with it. And I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm just saying in general, I just kind of throw this out for anyone. When it comes to any sort of spiritual experience, we just want to take note of it. Like, okay, that was cool, right? I'll see if that information that came to me was useful, right? And just kind of move on with it, so that we don't go into this sort of like feeling of, again, not saying anyone's doing this, but this feeling that can happen, I'm special, right? There is a sense of this kind of like thing that can happen with people, especially in the beginning of their journey. So I try really hard to like calm and temper that for people because it takes you in the wrong direction. So just always remember, like, anything that happens, go like, that's really cool, that's great, and then move on. You know what I mean? Don't try not to hold on to anything. So yeah, it's possible that that could have happened. And so if it happens again, just sort of take note of it. Obviously our guides can bring us little blurbs of information or advice on occasion. It's when things are happening like all the time that I would go, maybe that's part of the mind. You know what I mean? That's because we don't have these sorts of experiences all the time. Like, that's just not, it doesn't happen like that. So just, again, take note of it. And yes, it's possible. So I hope that's helpful. Anyone else here? Cool. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to just take our break. Make sure you get hydrated, because when we're doing healing, especially, we want to have a lot of water. And then I will tell you everything about what we're doing. So have your break, and we will come back in just a couple minutes. Okay, hold on. I have to go close the door 1 second. Where's Carly? Carly, are you back? Yeah, not yet. Carly?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. How would you feel about just getting the healing today? Like, because I have a room of 4 and instead of 3, and I thought you could just be the receiver for all of the people that work today, as far as like, or as one of an extra receiver.
Okay.
Is that okay? Since you have COVID,
Yeah.
I just think that maybe that would be best, and not having you have to do any of that. Cool. So is everyone back then? So I can explain what we're doing. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to be in rooms of 3. So there will be a medium, a receiver, or in this case, for their group of 4, it will be 2 receivers, and then there'll be a battery. So for each round that we're doing, the medium will have 10 minutes to allow their healing guide to work through them. The receiver will just be sitting, being still being open and paying attention to the experience, but just receiving, just like Hallie did. The battery will be the one supporting the energy, with the intention of my energy supporting what's going on here with the energy and the healing. The battery will be doing the timing. Okay. So your job is to be doing the timer when you are the battery. So make sure you have your phone with you for 10 minutes. And then you will also be responsible for calling out your medium. So again, very gently. So just a whisper, just very gently. Because even though when we're being quiet, it can actually sound loud to the medium when they're sitting, because they go into such a deep place. Okay. Just as a reminder, you will have 5 minutes in between each time someone sits for feedback. So how that will go will be the medium will go first as their experience, okay, today, then the battery, and then the receiver. Okay, so feedback first, medium, battery, and then receiver. And then we will move to the next medium. So in your groups of 3, that's how we will do it. Again, Carly, you'll just be receiving today, okay? So you don't have to worry about doing that. What we're doing when we're starting this is just becoming still. We're just inviting in the presence of our guide. We're inviting in our healing guide and bringing the intention of working through you, okay, bringing healing for whoever the person that's going to be the receiver. So each time you switch, make sure you guys are changing your roles, okay? So one time you're the receiver, one time you're the battery, one time you're the medium. Does that make sense? With the exception of Carly. Are there any questions about what we're doing and how to go about it? Amy?
The battery is what we just did, like we were all just sitting passive and noticing.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So you're going to take note of your experience as it's changing, as you're just helping provide support for the healing. And then yes, we'll switch. So just quickly, and Jackie?
Just for clarification, with the group of 4, are there going to be 2 receivers?
Yeah.
Or
So yes.
2 batteries?
Yes. So in the group of 4, I'm not sure who iPhone 13 is, but whoever iPhone 13 is, Megan, Cochran, Misty. So you 3 will be the ones rotating. So whoever is getting the receiving, we're also intending that to go to Carly as well. So you don't have to do anything different except for just put that intention out. The spirit world will take care of it. Remember, spirit's multidimensional. It doesn't matter if people are in different places. None of that matters. It will just go where it's needed. Okay. Who is iPhone 13? Who is that? Okay. There we are. Okay. Do you want me to put your name there? Or do you know how to redo your name?
Yeah, it's me. So what happened was my computer is down.
Okay.
Like so I'm using my phone, but my phone isn't loud enough to hear. So I have to like use my computer and my phone.
Okay.
So
okay. Angie, okay, cool. No worries. So let me just make sure then, hold on. Because I may have, Angie.
Yep.
So you're in here twice. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so it's my laptop, but my phone, I can bear the volume. It's not good, and right.
Well, that is, hold on. Now I have to just hold on. I have to switch some stuff around here because we're supposed to have groups of 3, but now I just noticed we also have a group of 2 here. 1 second, everyone. Sorry. Okay. So are you needing to have both in the same room, Angie? That's my question. Because you need both? Probably. I'll just I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that's the case. But I just need to figure out this one other thing here really quick because now we're kind of off. So sorry, everyone. Sorry. Amy, why don't you ask your question while I am also doing this?
Yeah, I just had a question about, so as the medium, we're setting the intention, and then is it essentially just being passive then at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just
Like,
opening
what are the
ourselves. Yeah, so just like when you're coming to mediumship, right? Any form of mediumship. So we're becoming still. We're opening our power. We're opening ourselves. We're moving into the power. We're becoming sensitive and still, right? We're asking our guide. We're inviting them. Please, I ask for my healing guide to come forward to work through me to support this healing. So whether they blend with you or not, it doesn't matter. If you get to a place of really nice surrender, that may happen. It just may happen automatically, but it's not something you have to try to intend toward or to push for or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Do we start just normally like moving our energy out and then do the intention? Okay.
Yeah, exactly like that. So, but they know what we're doing also, so they're aware of what we're doing today. I'm going to need to make, oh my goodness, hold on. I need to make one more group of 4. So I'm going to put Stacy in. So in room 8, we have Kenza, Mervi, Sarah, and Stacy. What we're going to do there is have a little bit less time for feedback, I think, to try to make this work. If I need to stick around slightly longer for you guys, I will figure that out, but I don't know what else to do right now besides that. What we can do.
Megan.
Yes.
Can you hear me? It's Merve here. I'm also feeling a little out of the weather, so under the weather.
Okay, well, not
I could
good,
be
but
just a receiver as well. I mean, I could in that group. I could also be just as receiver, so
Sure.
it could be 2 receivers.
Okay, that actually works. That actually works for me. Okay, so in group 8 with Kenza, Mervi, Sarah, and Stacy, we're going to also do the same thing of, so Kenza, Sarah, and Stacy will be rotating. So whoever is the receiver at the time will also be Mervi. Okay, so that works. That works. So we don't have to have any less time. So let's go ahead and get started before we run out of time. And so I'm going to be opening the rooms right now. Does everyone understand what we're doing? So I need the batteries to make sure you're keeping time. Okay. So
And it's 10 minutes, right?
10 minutes. Yeah. 10 minutes for the medium, 5 minutes total for feedback, and then switch. Okay. So always there'll be one person as a medium, one person as a battery, one person receiving, or in the odd case, we have 2 people receiving, but that's the way. So every time you'll have a new role. Does that make sense? Okay, good. And at the end, we'll be coming back into the main room. Okay. So just again, let the healing pass through you. Be passive, be still, just trust and surrender. Okay. So, okay. So I would love to hear about your experiences. So who went first as the medium?
Amy was the first medium.
Okay, cool. Amy, why don't you tell me about your experience?
So yeah, it was really nice. I felt like I felt sort of like I connected to some guides. Like I had the feeling of someone sort of over to the back and left, and then also someone sort of over to the front and right. And I felt like a sort of zinging kind of communication between the two. It felt kind of busy, but really, really warm, like a lot of heat and energy. And so that was nice. I just had like a warm feeling in my heart and like a very lifted kind of energy throughout.
Cool. And did you feel like you were able to just surrender and let it pass through you?
Especially closer to the end, yes. It usually takes me a little bit to really get there. Like I can start to feel the tingles and stuff pretty quick, but to really feel like I've surrendered takes me a good like few minutes. So yeah, by the end I felt like it. Yeah.
Great. That's perfectly normal. That's great. And Bella and Deb, who was the receiver of that?
I was the receiver for that one.
Okay. And what did you experience?
Shoot, I have to remember.
That was it. Well, you and I both felt the tingles in the lips at the same time, and yeah.
That was very specific because I did really feel like this massive tingling on my lips, and then when Deb said it, I was like, wow, because it's really random to feel that. I felt like energy moving, like that same sort of tingling towards like different random parts of my body, just with like, and then I was just like encapsulated in that warmth while it was happening.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And Deb, you experienced similar things then?
Yeah, with theirs, yeah. When I was the medium, I kept feeling like I was doing it wrong. And then I realized no, where I'm at is not caring. And when I recognized, oh, I'm not caring, then I felt that pulsing, and that's when they felt the pulsing too. So that was similar.
Okay, cool. And so then for both you and Bella, did you both, when you were doing the healing, so you felt like for you, Deb, maybe it took you a bit or
Yeah,
to get out of the
yeah.
way? Okay, cool. But you did sort of feel that click in, that sort of like, okay, I can feel this now. And okay, cool.
Yeah, I realized that the kind of spacing out, sort of the not caring was it was okay. That was what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to just be the vessel, and it was okay to not be overtly like pushing your feeling. Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Good, good, good. Okay. And Bella, did you find it easy or hard for you to sort of surrender and let it pass through?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I found it harder to surrender to this than to surrender to like mediumistic impressions for whatever reason. And then but there was one moment where I kind of just like felt the need to close my eyes, and usually it's easier for me to keep them open. So it was just like this heaviness. And then once I did that, it was like boom. And it felt more like peaceful, and it was still.
Yeah. So my thought is maybe because this is doing even less, you know what I mean? Whereas like when we're doing mental mediumship, there's an active component to it where it's passive and passive or passive and active. Sorry, I got distracted with someone was coming in. So I think that may show you something too, is that like maybe there's some form of uncomfortability with like being that passive or being, just being still. And maybe something to sort of sit with, to ask yourself questions about. Yeah, so it's great. I love that you all had that, had the experiences that you did, and you could feel the differences between when you were kind of in the way versus when you really let go, and like they were able to actually bring that through you. And then Monet and Katie, were you guys in a 2 group? Or was there a third person there that had to leave? No?
We had 3 people.
You did? Okay, because for whatever reason, when I was seeing you coming into the room, I only saw you and Katie, and I only saw that amount of people in the room when I was looking at the breakout rooms. Yeah, because I'm like, I don't remember there only being a 2 group. So I'm like, okay. But weird things happen sometimes. So, okay. And who would like to share your experience? I'd like to hear from a couple more people before we're done. Monet?
So as the medium, I found it very like just being kind of swept away with the energy, and almost like I had a hard time like maintaining a level of awareness that I could be like, oh, this is the sensations that I'm having, but also like, okay, I'm feeling a lot of energy move through me and my body wanting to move with it. So that was kind of that for me. And then when I received, I was just amazed that who like read for me basically said everything that I was like going through, like what they were feeling was like what I've been dealing with my like health issues. So it just blew my mind.
That's great. Yeah, it's interesting what we can perceive when we're just passive and still. It just shows up. And Michael and I, excuse me, I'm like literally having, hold on, I gotta. Michael and I really want all of you to start to pay attention to that. Like, that's why level 3 is so important, because it really shows you, I don't have to effort. I don't have to try. I don't have to do, I just have to be still and wait and let it hit me. The information just comes. If I'm in the right state, if I'm just passive and I just move with it, it will show up. Does that make sense? Beautiful. I love it. We still have a couple more people in their rooms. I'm gonna let them finish up. Who else would like to share their experience? Amy.
Yeah, it felt like really full circle in a way, because I feel like in my work doing therapy with people that I often tap into that kind of stuff and don't even realize it. So it felt like really powerful, I guess, to actually have a demonstration and, and feel that I was feeling what other people were feeling, like some evidence that, oh yeah, that is real. So that was cool.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Amy. And what's really cool about this too is now that you have the awareness of what to do, how to make the intention, you can start doing this for people in your life. You can start offering healing. And just, it's always going to be about not trying to direct, not trying to like make it happen, just like let it come through you, right? That's when we're really going to get that powerful sort of healing happening. So yeah, that's great. David?
Everything was really amazing, and everyone did great in my group. I've kind of noticed that as like we interact with different like spirits or like entities and stuff, whenever we do mediumistic readings, like speaking to loved ones, they're more like that version of themselves, and you feel like their gender and stuff. But connecting and feeling like our healing guides, they feel more androgynous, and like they identify less with gender but more as like emotions and like vibrations of emotions, like of choosing to feel more soothing or more loving or like things like that. And I just thought that was really cool. And I think it's beautiful how they try to like they envelop you within their energy. Like it becomes less about like observing them as an outside being that you're feeling and seeing and interacting with, but it's like they become the space and you sit within them and get to experience them. And I just thought that was really beautiful as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, David. There will be some guides that you may be aware of more that feel androgynous or may feel more masculine or more feminine. It's going to vary depending on the guide, and, depending on their experience as well, I think, and how they still identify. But I love your experience, and thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm glad you had that experience. Amy, how'd that go for you?
Which Amy?
Amy Foote.
Okay, great. Now I know there's two. Yeah, it was interesting. I think the thing that kind of stuck with me is when I was the medium and when Jordan was the medium, I experienced the healing power as a heaviness. And when Jackie was the healing medium, I experienced it as a lightness. So that was curious. And yeah, I'm still learning how to sense my guides. I certainly feel presences, but I'm sort of open to that feeling different than past loved ones' presences. And so I would say that today, what I experienced in terms of a healing guide probably came in the form of like, oh, I don't need to do anything, like a calmness of like, oh, I don't need to do anything. And like I even mentioned to my partners that I was noticing my mind was still kind of chittering, like in the anxious way that it sometimes does, but that the healing was still flowing through me. And I was like, oh, this is so great that I don't need to like, it's okay if I'm like not perfect today, it's still gonna happen. And so there was a sense that a calming reminder that I don't need to be doing anything.
Right. Good. Perfect. Thank you, Amy. That's perfect. Augie?
Mine's kind of a three-part question, but who can you follow who does this now? Like who's alive? Like, I mean, Harry Edwards and stuff, but
right.
And how do you take it to the next level? Like, so if you want to go deeper.
Yeah. Good question. I do it. Michael on occasion does it. Eileen Davies, I do believe does healing also. There's not a lot of people that I'm aware of that necessarily do, there's Charlie Goldstein, really, Yeah, he does healing. It's maybe a different form, but I know he does spiritual healing. So he would be one example. A lot of people kind of go the Reiki route, right? So there's not a lot of people necessarily talking about this a lot. And I haven't really even talked a lot about this on my social media and that kind of thing, because people don't really have the perception of it as much as they do like Reiki. They've heard of Reiki, all that stuff. So it's a very good question. You know, I'll get back to you. Honestly, I'll see what I can find, who I can find. But I'm sure, I mean, Gordon Smith, I don't know if he actively does healing for people now, but he's somebody that works through trance healing also. I know that. A good book to read, a couple of good books. So one would be a surgeon from another world. Okay. It's really good. It's about trance healing. It's by Roy Stemmons. And it's about a medium who becomes entranced so much so that this person is able to bring through this incredible healing. He's also able to talk to his living daughter and give evidence of who he was in life. As a doctor, he was a doctor who worked through this medium, and it's a really good book. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. Also, Gordon Smith's book called Intuitive Studies they also talk about this kind of healing in that book. Very good book. As far as taking it to another level, it's really about more of, once we go into, now we're going to be moving into trance states, that once you learn that and continue to kind of sit with that, and that may be something you can include into a home circle as well. Like I have a circle for trance, just that's the main objective of my circle that we have. You may want to start your own little circles, you know, to sit for transfer blending. So basically we're just moving into a deeper state of blending. So to advance this, you would want to just be more and more passive. So more and more surrendered, more and more relaxed as you're allowing more of them and less of you. So the more we get out of the way, the more of them can come forward, the more we can continue this avenue, essentially. Does that make sense, Augie?
Yeah, definitely. But hey, there's a healer, can I add something real fast? There's a healer that talks about like a Healy machine. Have you heard of a Healy? Are they?
I have not. Who is that?
It's just called HELEY, and it's supposed to pick up your energies and give you reports, or you can program it to do, you know, yeah, Healy. It's quite expensive. That's why I don't have one.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to look into that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
David, did you have another question or another comment?
No, sorry, I just forgot to put my hand down.
Okay, no worries. Okay, Megan.
I'm not sure what I missed before I got back, so I apologize if this was already talked about, but I just wanted to point out how different each role in that felt for me. Like, and it was kind of a little mind blowing, but as a receiver, it genuinely felt like having an energetic massage from someone who like loves me. Yeah, so I am, yeah, my mind's still a little blown. I just wanted to see if that was what everybody else experienced, like the like very stark differences between each role. Blew my mind.
Yeah, that's normal. And I would, who can understand that? Who's raising your hand? You felt a difference between each role and felt that sort of like love enveloping you and like that spirit. And like, that's why I'm like, how could you guys think anything is bad is coming from spirit? Every time I'm like, I don't get it. But yeah, so beautiful. Thank you, Megan. Carly? Oh yeah, I wanted to check in with Carly and Murphy and see how that was to just be the receiver. How was that for you, Carly?
That was so nice. It was like no pressure. I felt very loved. And it like actually brought up a lot of like from my chest, like literally, like I was doing a lot of coughing, and I feel like I can breathe easier now. So it was really nice. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you.
And Stacy?
I just had a question because I guess this was a kind of a weird experience, but when I was being the medium, like when I came out of it, I just didn't have anything to say. I was like, I don't know. And it felt like, I mean, I know I was deep and like, that doesn't normally happen to me. I was just wondering like what that was.
So, okay. So you're saying so like, can you describe what your experience was?
It's so strange because like I could feel like I could hear my mind, but like it was almost like I was like below it and it was above me and it was just like going by. And then like when I came out of it, I was like, I had to like give my experience. Like I just like, I just kept saying, and then I was like, I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. So like, if we're kind of going back to it, do you recall having the awareness of your energy starting to expand?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. So, and do you recall feeling any kind of shifts around you or starting to feel like a healing guide coming around you?
I ended up, after some people were talking, I ended up like coming back in and it was like, oh, I think, one of these guides that I think I've known for a while, I think they stepped forward. And as I was kind of recalling, not that I knew that they were a healing guide, but I kind of recognized them. So.
Okay, cool. And did you have any awareness of like energy moving through the body? Like, was there any kind of like, oh, I can feel tingles here. I can feel something happening here. Anything like that?
I don't think so.
That's okay. And that's okay. So everyone's going to have a little bit of a different experience. And the really cool thing is even if you don't have the awareness of like what's happening, it can still happen. Like, that's what's really cool about this sort of work. Even if like the receiver, like, let's say, for example, doesn't feel anything, right? It doesn't mean that the healing's not taking place. It just means that maybe they weren't energetically sensitive in that moment, or maybe they're not somebody that is energetically sensitive and doesn't feel it. So there may have been just, for whatever reason today, you didn't have those experiences, but I would say try again and see, what you're aware of. Continue to let yourself relax, continue to let yourself surrender, and to like, just move and sink. It's like we're sinking down in some way. We're kind of just letting go.
It was almost like too deep, like if that makes sense. Like I was like too far gone.
No, it's okay. You know what? If that's the case, that's okay. Like if that's actually, I would prefer to hear that than like, I was very, very active and like got in the way. Does that make sense? Like, I'd rather have you be that removed and that sort of passive that you may not recall the experience so much. It may feel like a dream, even like a slight dream of what happened. That's okay. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. And Murphy, I just want to see, how was that for you before we kind of wrap up? I know we're like going way over here. So.
Yeah, I found it a very interesting experience, especially with like I had a different experience, which is of each of the mediums. Like with one, I sort of started here and ended up a little bit all over the place. Another one, I started here and ended up releasing a lot of things. And I've kind of found that the most profound experience for me was with the medium who had a bad experience, like how they were explaining that they didn't really have a good experience with it. But I almost, for me, it was, sorry, it was almost the most profound, because I kind of got to a point where I just realized, I don't know if I made the decision or if somebody told me to, that I don't have to try. I don't have to do anything. Whatever is supposed to happen will happen. So
right.
Very interesting.
Good. And I don't want to like out the person, but like if the person that didn't have a good experience wants to share at all, we're going to go over that. If you felt like it was a bit difficult for you, or if they're still here. I don't know who that is, but if you had, is there anyone that did, besides that person, have like a little bit of like a difficult experience with it, or didn't have a good experience with it at all? No? Okay. Okay, well, good. Perfect. And then someone was asking about future courses related to this. It's a possibility that we may have something like that coming. It's just, we're like, we're still kind of figuring out timing of everything and like where we can fit things in. But both Michael and I love, trance work, and whether that's through healing or speaking or whatever. So I do think that is probably something that will come into the future. I just don't know when, timing wise, yet. So, but we'll definitely be letting people know. If we were to set up our own healing circles, what would that look like? So it basically like what we did today. So if you were going to be You know, there would be a receiver, there would be a battery, there'd be a medium doing the healing. So, or there would be like, yeah, like one person like I did. So the rest of the people that were in the circle would be, you know, paying attention to what's going on, being batteries, and then there'd be a person receiving that healing. Or you could do it for the whole group. You know, it's going to just depend on what's needed. Really, it's about following along to what's needed. But that's essentially the same sort of thing that you would do. Okay, so if there's any, Augie, really, go ahead.
Wouldn't, instead of a battery, wouldn't 2 or 3 healers be better, like, essentially?
I mean, you can. So we've done it where there's multiple people working on one person. You can definitely do that. I don't know if it's needed, but you can try it and do it. It does help to have the battery or to have the people supporting with the energy, because what happens is it's like we all join together when we do that. We all kind of become one as we're supporting the energy, we're being a part of the energy. And then we also get to have that experience of paying attention to like what's going on in the energy. And that helps our awareness and our energetic sensitivity. So you can definitely do it either way. And like, there's no real right or wrong way when it comes to that. I just think follow like what you're feeling.
Okay.
Really, yeah. Okay. So as we are just coming in close today, I just want to thank you. And I hope that was a really good experience for you. I hope you're able to take this and get a chance to maybe practice this on people that are obviously willing and give consent. And to just keep allowing yourself to deepen that blending, deepen that letting go as you're doing it. Okay. So thank you all so much. We'll see you.
Great class, Megan.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.